Monday night. Time for some straight talk. This is your host, Matt Hasley, coming at you. It is, I don't want to say November. June 13th. My God. Sad day, talking about dominating the news. I love the city of Orlando. I've been there tons of times. Probably 20 or so times. We used to go every year, play golf there. I know my way around the city. Everybody's outgoing and nice for the most part. I mean, I've always had good experiences been there. I've been to some of the clubs. I've blown away by the news of this senseless tragedy. I don't understand how somebody has that much hate inside them to want to do something like this. And they immediately it turns to a gun control issue. And that's the problem that I have with with our liberal media. They jump on it and they turn it into, the gun is just a tool. And I'm going to talk about that later. It won't do it on its own. But the things that have come out since the shooting, even now, people are starting to do, FBI finding out more and more information about him, about this Omar Mateen who did the shooting. People saying, he wasn't very religious. And then I found out he's been to the mosque 2 times a week for the last 13 years or whatever they said. And I'm like, that's more times to the mosque than I've been to church. But you look at the situation of what happened, and automatically it turns into. I was watching it Sunday morning. I've been watching it ever since I went to work at 5 a.m. Heard about it through social media right away when I got up. So I turned on the TVs and we've been watching it. Even before I knew when it was at 20, they were saying 20 dead. Before it went to 50 or 49 or 50, I'm not sure what it's exactly now. I heard another story that was 49, but I guess it would be 49 if you don't count him, the terrorist. Well, even before it went to there, they had this Muslim imam come on and say that he acted on his own and there was no other threat to anybody and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, how the hell does this guy know? How does this guy know he acted on his own? How did this guy know that he wasn't radicalized by somebody else? What was the focus on it? They didn't have a Jewish rabbi on there to say, well, he wasn't he wasn't Jewish and he wasn't acting, and they didn't have a Catholic priest come on. They had him immediately. They were steering this in a direction to quell the, people that would take offense to it that had something to do with Islam. Well, I guess weeks prior to this incident. Before I get too far into this, I want to do is let everybody know. If you want to interact with the show, you can all do it multiple ways. You can catch me on Twitter. Just hashtag a tweet Arm Radio. You can also call in live at 1-866-225-5401. I don't care if you want to talk about we need to do gun control. I don't want to care. Whatever you want to talk about, call in. If you want to talk about the victims, if you want to talk about, why, whatever reason that you have, I want to hear it. If you get a chance to call in. I'm just frustrated with what's going on and how immediately people turn it into, an agenda to change for their, their political agenda. It says, when apparently there was a, here we go. Here's the article. This came out weeks before this shooting. A British imam visited the Central Florida to preach. It said death to gays in the name of Allah. This is a Breitbart story. It said the Muslim scholar who preached against gays in Orlando weeks before Sunday's massacre was British-born Muslim who is now blames the media for defamation, claiming his alleged support for killing gays was an academic exercise, not a personal opinion, verdict, or support of violence. Farak Sekaleshvar, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, correct, is a trained medical doctor and Shia Muslim scholar from Manchester in the north of England. He now claims to live in Iran, but currently live in Australia. After leaving the U.S. last month, he continues to tour the West, propagating his views on homosexuality and Islam. So he was actually at this mosque where Omar Mateen worshipped. It's very possible that he could have went and listened to him. Well, they also say that that Mateen had also visited the Pulse nightclub multiple times and had, I guess a presence, like an internet, I don't know what you want to call it. He had a profile on a gay dating site. I don't know what that was for. I don't know if it was. But I mean, this guy, it's not like all of a sudden he popped up out of nowhere on the radar. Apparently he had a coworker that worked with him for so long, they got so tired of working with him, kept complaining about him, kept wanting to be moved from this guy because the guy kept talking about killing people and all this. And the employer did nothing. The guy finally quit. So you look at this guy, he'd been interviewed by the FBI twice. He's watching videos online that are ISIS-related videos. He's traveled to Saudi Arabia multiple times. From there, you don't know where he's gone from there. I'm sure they'll be able to find out more. And he doesn't pop up on some terror warning. And some guy that runs a gun store is supposed to go, yeah, he runs a background check. If it comes back clean, it's good. And taking away, let's say the guy, for some reason, you outlaw assault rifles, which they want to do is install or reenact the ban on assault rifles, which an AR-15 is not considered an assault rifle. The definition of assault rifle is a fully automatic, which is illegal to sell in the United States, unless you have a very, very heavy-duty license from the ATF. So, if they want to do an assault style, the military that looks like one, it's like somebody said, what do you need an AR-15 for? To shoot that many bullets, well, you might not need it. But somebody wants it. And somebody said, well, what do you need a Corvette that'll do 200 miles an hour? The speed limit's 75. What's the purpose of that? You look at different things like that, but okay, so let's say they were able to do is reenact a ban, somehow be able to stop this Omar Mateen from buying a gun for any reason. If they were able to flag him and say, okay, could buy a gun. Well, what's to say this guy doesn't build a bomb? Go into that nightclub and just detonate it. The biggest thing with the problem that they're not addressing is the evil in these people. And it's not just, Islam. And everybody goes, oh, you need to stop Islam. But it's not Islam. Because there's people that are, that have the Islamic faith that don't go out and kill people. But there's a radical section of it that people are following. And I was watching a CNN program last week, and they were talking about how in the Bible, there's verses that come out as in the Quran, where they say in the Quran, if you have sex with a male or whatever, that as a homosexual, that they will strike you down. Well, and they say in places in the Bible, in Deuteronomy or whatever, that the same thing, that gays will be struck down. Well, but it also says in the Bible, the Ten Commandments, about thou shalt not kill. So you look at, in this program I was watching on CNN, and they were trying to do is people to understand why ISIS and Taliban and all them became so radicalized. And they're talked about how he was kind of the leader of it, had lived in the United States for a short period of time, and he hated it because he hated seeing the way women dressed and how they, wore these revealing tops, and they saw the curvature of their breasts and all this, and he couldn't stand that. He thought that was, wrong, and so then he went back home and he vowed to, fight against that and everything, and they went into the Sharia law, and he was killed because he went to try to rise up against, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but they actually killed him, and they became a martyr for him. And with the Sharia law, I mean, it's these people think that they are going to get some reward if they kill in the name of Allah. You draw a cartoon against their God or whatever, Allah, which, I mean, there's been cartoons about Jesus, and I haven't seen Christians going out and killing in the name of Jesus. I mean, they might have some perverted idea but I don't see a mass murdering, and where they're calling out and they're chanting Allah Allah Akbar and pledging their allegiance to ISIS or pledging their allegiance to Jesus right before they start killing. I don't understand how these people get radicalized like they do, and they have this this idea that they're going to get something. You know, they're going to get these 72 virgins or whatever. Well, they had a lady on that was talking about how they mistranslated the word, and it actually means raisins. And I was like, that would be a shocker for a terrorist to commit these acts and go up to in front of his God and he hands him a bowl of raisins. You know, here you go. Here's your 72 raisins. Yeah, it's crazy what, you know, and a lot of people go, well, everything's done in the name of religion. You know, you see all this stuff. Yeah, there's some crazy things that are done in the name of religion where people feel that, you know, and they tied in, which was kind of crazy, is in that same CNN program, they tied in the Westboro Baptist Church people, how they are towards gays and how they are towards military members, and they stand up there with signs and everything. But they're not out killing people. They're not out there throwing gay people off a building like they do over in some countries in the Middle East. I mean, they got pictures of it. They sit there and they light them on fire. They do everything. I mean, it's and then we sit there and act like we're the one are having the problem. We act like we're the ones that are intolerant. This country is more tolerant than about any country I've ever seen. More compassionate. Anytime something happens, like an earthquake, or a flood, or a major disaster in a country, we send aid to everywhere. Even if they are, even in countries that actually hate us. You know, you look at Saudi Arabia, the 28 redacted pages. They feel that, that they had something to do with 9/11. People feel that. A bunch of the terrorists came from Saudi Arabia. Osama bin Laden was from Saudi Arabia. So you're looking at that. And they have this idea of, I mean, they weren't called ISIS at the time, but that was the creation of it, because we sat there and ignored them and allowed them to become bigger than what they should be. How they radicalize people, and I just think this is a start of it. This isn't going to end, and it's not going to end if you go take away assault weapons or AR-15s, as you want to call them. You take away you ban the AR-15, the Bushmaster AR-15. Doesn't matter. It's like, it's like heroin and marijuana and just about any drug is illegal in most cities, or most states. Marijuana is illegal in Seattle and Colorado. But you can get it anywhere. It grows wild. So talking about that is, um, do you think that's going to stop it? Do you think it's going to stop attacks? No way. If you were somehow able to remove every gun from the United States, which is impossible, they would somehow smuggle them in from Mexico. They bring drugs in every day, and they smuggle them in. You know, it's just amazing that it's we immediately when a attack happens and it starts to be tied to ISIS, where the guy's saying things that, saying Allah Akbar, he called 911, pledges allegiance to ISIS. And this administration goes, this had nothing to do with Islam. This is some perversion to Islam. And he won't say radical Islam. Like that's going to be some recruiting tool for them. It's not a recruiting tool for ISIS. They already have a recruiting tool. They don't like us for who we are, for our freedom, for our diversity. They don't like it that our women don't wear, the burqa, as you want to call it. They don't like it that we have LBGT community. They don't like that we are allowed to do what we want and say what we want. If this show was in the Middle East, I wouldn't be able to do this show. We would be shut down. We'd be attacked. I don't have anything against Islam. I have a lot against, I don't care what religion. I don't care if your religion is you believe in unicorns and spaceships. I don't care what it is. I don't care what your religion is. But when your religion says for you to kill people that are innocent, that had nothing to do with you, that's when I have a problem. I don't care if Christianity, if the Pope came out and told me that I must go kill people that leave the Christian or the Catholic faith or whatever, or the Christian faith, or I must kill homosexuals or something like that, then I'd have a problem with Christianity. I'd have a serious problem with the Pope. And I'm not going to do it. And if people did, and we started to have that, whatever, then we'd call it radical Christianity. But we don't see that. Or radical Buddhism. You don't see that either. I've seen some people that are Christians that have taken it to an extreme. We had the David Koresh who thought he was God. And how do I know he was or wasn't? The thing is I talked about that a long time back, is when God does come back, unless he does something spectacular to shock and awe everybody, nobody's going to believe him. They're going to try to lock him up. Oh, this guy's nuts. Because nobody believes anything. Everybody's skeptical of everything. But, to sit there and our president, he won't call it radical Islam. He's afraid to call it what it is. You People attacked Trump. Trump came out. Now they're attacking him for what he said. You know, they took his tweet or his response to the Orlando shooting, and they took one section of it and they took it completely out and then turned it into that he was insensitive and everything like that. I think it's way more insensitive that the president immediately turned it into a gun issue. I think that the bad part about this is I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. I mean, you look at people and you can't stop evil. You're not going to change evil's mentality. So it's like they talked about the Pulse nightclub was a gun-free zone. They had police officers right there. Got into a shootout with him, and he was still able to get inside and do all this killing. I don't understand why they took so long to get in. Why they took so long to storm it. If these officers got into a shootout with him, and they heard all the gunfire, they should have went in and tried to do something. Who knows? They might have. They might have been able to do is, save one life. I don't know what I would have done in that situation, being an officer responding to that. Luckily, I was never involved in any incidents like this. Had a shooting one time when I was off duty, but we couldn't get to the shooter. You get somebody that takes pot shots and stuff like that, and you never know what, but never to be into this situation. Have I drawn my weapon? Yes, multiple times on duty. Luckily, I've never had to pull the trigger. So, you listen to this guy, Omar Mateen, they people, witnesses that talk about how he was going around shooting people, laughing at them. Laughing when he was shooting. I just don't, I don't know where you build up that hate. And apparently he had been and visited other gay clubs in Orlando, and supposedly a target was Disney. So they're stepping up their security. The hard part of it is you can't, you have to be right all the time to be able to stop it. And to sit there and say, okay, we need to get rid of guns because that's going to stop it. It won't. Look at the bombing in Boston. They didn't use guns. They used pressure cooker bombs. Look at the Oklahoma City bombing. They didn't use guns there either. You know, we've had the World Trade Center bombing in 1993. And in 2001, when they flew the planes into the World Trade Center. They didn't use guns. They didn't even use guns to take over the planes. You know, you look at, there's a list that was compiled by, let me give him credit here, William Robert Johnston. It's titled Terrorist Attacks and Related Incidents in the United States. And we're going to go back. And this doesn't have... it doesn't have the latest on there. This is... Columbus, Ohio. Attacker injures 4 in a machete attack in a restaurant. Attacker was shot and killed by police when he attacked a police car at the end of a car chase. November 4th, 2015. Student stabbed 2 students and 2 staff at the University of California. Attacker was shot and killed by police. October 23rd, 2014. Axe attack on police officers. Injured 2. 1 severely. Police shot and killed the attacker. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. September 25th, 2014. Knife attack at food processing plant. 1 injured. One plant killed 1, injured 1. Attacker was shot and injured. Trying to find the one that was where a guy took a machete and cut the lady's head off. You know, you look at, they're going to find a way to create evil. I feel extremely bad for the people that are involved in this. But when I first started talking about it, is this incident, it was probably 8 o'clock in the morning. So this incident had been going on, which have been, I think they finally took over, which would be from 2 to 5, I think is when the shootings went on. 2 to 5 a.m. Eastern time, so it'd be 1 to 4 our time. So it's 4 hours into the incident. And they had this Muslim imam come on from Orlando, telling how he was a lone wolf, and it wasn't Islam, and blah, 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 and all this. Right now, they're looking for accomplices that might have worked with him. So multiple arrests might be, this was announced on Fox. So it's not just on, I read it also on InfoWars. And they were asking, did he actually work alone? You know, you look at this, you know, it would not surprise, well, why would they only want him, you know, for it to come out to and sound like it's this one guy? Why would they want to what would be the purpose of that? Well, the purpose is they wanted to turn it into he's a lone wolf. He's a lone guy. He's a loser that he, you know, he was doing it all on his own, that he wasn't directed from ISIS and blah, blah. You know, they don't want to turn it into, because let's say if it's 3 guys or 4 guys, all of a sudden it becomes a terrorist cell. And that's the last thing they want to put out in the media, because it looks bad against this administration. Well, this administration has been putting it off and just ignoring, what's really going on. We we see the. I'm trying to find. I had an article earlier, and it. It talks about since the incident, what has happened, and it talks about what the president has done since this incident. Well, we're going to do is take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk more about that. So we actually are quite a bit over for break, but we'll be right back after these messages.
Tune in every Monday and Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, for Straight Talk with Matt Hasley. Live audio on TuneIn Radio and Spreaker.com. Plus live video on Ustream.tv. From the demented minds at ArmedRadioGlobal.com.
Hey, Dan. How's the day going so far?
My day couldn't be better. You pull up less than 3 minutes after I open my Lyft app, and how do you greet me? With a kind hello? Just delightful.
Great. Care for a cookie?
A cookie? A chocolate chip cookie? You know, I'd love one.
Sure.
Hey, let me ask you something. How did you know I love this song?
I mean, come on, it's the Cold War, kids. Everybody loves them.
Whoa! Who taught this guy how to merge? That was a fantastic merge!
Couldn't agree more.
That's it? That's all this costs? What's this thing running on? Smiles and high fives? You son of Mike, I love you!
Thanks. Have a great day.
Lyft. Driving you happy. Just download and go.
Hey, Joe Rocks, it's Louis Avis, straight from Chi-Town. Call and talk about our website, www.hotsaucevault.com. We got everything you can think of out there, Joe. The hottest hot sauces, not for wimps, mild, medium sauces. We got barbecue sauces, snacks, some of our gift ideas and gag gifts, so you can go out and check us out at www.hotsaucevault.com. Hope to talk to you again on your radio show. Kick-ass show. Had a great time last week. Hope to hear from you soon. Take care, Joe. hotsaucevault.com.
If you're looking to reward, celebrate, recognize, or advertise, get help from the pros at Creative Marketing. Custom imprinted products to give that event a lasting impression. Log on to Creative Marketing on Facebook and click the Call Us button. With over 700,000 products, we're sure to find what is right for you. Remember, think Creative Marketing for all your adware needs.
Are you hangry? Know the signs. Uncontrollable yelling.
Why aren't you egg rolls?
Hallucination.
Sushi.
Pants discomfort.
I hate you, pants.
Hangry. It can happen to anyone. Fortunately, there's E24, the app that tells hunger to shut up.
Egg rolls. Thanks, Snoop.
E24. In my medical opinion, it's the best way to order food online, baby.
Hey everybody, Mike Allen here. You can hear me live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on TuneIn Radio. Or you can visit my website at www.ontheairwithmikeallen.com for more showtimes, updates, and replays. So remember, every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, On the Air with Mike Allen, right here on Armed Radio Global.
Hey everybody, this is Paul and Jim. Join us on Pod Talk Radio, Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right after Night Talk with Joe Rocks,
where we will be discussing subjects one doesn't say in polite society. We're rude and crude and unwavering in our opinions.
So please tune in to Armed Radio Global, home of the big guns. Boom!
It was like a shadow in the night. My hair was standing on end. I was frozen in fear. I couldn't believe it. They really are here. Make sure you join the Alien Invasion Response Team. Tune in for the message every Monday and Friday for Straight Talk with Matt Hasley, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, only on Arm Radio Global. Be ready. They're coming.
Hey there, sexy. This is comedian Jenny Lavoie. You can catch me with the rest of the gang every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Night Talk with Joe Ross, exclusively on Armed Radio Global. Mwah!
There's a article that came out, and it was showing what the Muslims did in London after the it says Britain First, a conservative British movement, just loaded their official Facebook page after a video shows that Muslims in London flooded the streets protesting against America. You see ISIS flag waving, people screaming, and police doing nothing to stop the craziness. It says, "Death to America, Obama, you will pay. Sharia will have its way." So, you think of people accuse our president of not doing enough to stop radical Islam. He won't even acknowledge radical Islam. So how do you stop? It's like an alcoholic. Alcoholic has to fess up that he's an alcoholic to be able to do is stop his addiction to alcohol. Well, you look at right now, you look at all the policies that are set aside for anybody that criticizes Islam or anything that's done. It says, let me see here. Where is it? I'm trying to find the article about it. There was one. Pamela Geller is actually quite outspoken about Islam, and she was with the Draw the Muhammad. The one that happened in Texas, where they attempted to shoot her and they got into the shootout with I don't know if it was police or security that were there, but Facebook, Pamela Geller comes out with, it says Facebook, just hours after they removed her 50,000 strong group At Stop Islamization of America, Facebook has issued a prominent Islam critic, Pamela Geller, with a 30-day ban. Geller, who has previously been targeted for assassination by ISIS due to her criticism of Islam, was banned for a comment criticizing President Obama for neglecting to mention Islam or Muslim in his comment on yesterday's terror attack in Orlando, Florida. According to Facebook, the message violated their community standards, but they did not specify which specific section of their standards was breached. So if you criticize Islam, or I guess actually the president so the White House fails to mention, this is her statement. It says, it goes, we removed the post below because it does not follow the Facebook community standards. And it says, Pamela Geller, the White House fails to mention Islam, jihad, or the call for slaughter of gays in Islam. Instead, Obama is importing these savages by the thousands. I'm sure we get warnings of Islamophobia and backlashophobia. Hamas, Cairo, has called a press conference, and the leader of the Islamic Society of Central Florida is already at a press conference in Orlando. Islamic supremacist groups use these monstrous acts of carnage and murder to proselytize for Islam and condemn those who oppose jihad, slaughter, and Sharia. It is gruesome how these Muslim groups exploit the bloodshed. And it's got a link. And that was what they took out. And they banned her for 30 days because of that. It says Facebook did, however, provide a reason for the earlier removal of Geller's Stop Islamization of America page. According to the social media company 50,000 Strong Group, which had been live on Facebook since 2010, was hateful. It said, here's the full text of Facebook's email to Geller. It says, the group Stop Islamization of America has been removed because it violated the terms of use. Among other things, groups that are hateful, threatening, or obscene are not allowed. So we also take down groups that attack individual or group, or advertise a product or service. Continue misuse of Facebook result in your account being disabled. But they left up the I effing want to kill Donald Trump page. They left that page up. And it's, if, let me see. Let me see if that, let me see if it's still up there. Apparently, there are multiple sites up. And let's see if there's any sites that are there are multiple places where it talks about let's see if this one's still up. Facebook page. Oh, they finally took it down. So, and I guarantee they probably would have never taken it down unless somebody wrote all these articles against them. You know, you think of all the hate that goes on. There's so much hate that goes on Facebook, where you'll be having a discussion about gun control, and you'll get people that'll just go off on you. There's some people think that if we get rid of all guns, we'll have some utopic society that I have no idea where they think they're coming from. All you're going to do is you're going to have them be more of a target for evil. You know, if you don't like guns, that's fine. I don't care if you don't like guns. And people go, well, you know, the Second Amendment states that it's for a well-regulated militia. No, it says this. It doesn't state that. If you read the article or the amendment correctly, you understand they put it in there for a reason. They put it in there because they're worried about government taking over. Why was the United States, what was it? We, you know, took our freedom in 1776. We broke away. And we needed guns to help protect ourselves. And they talk about it. If it gets to the point where, you know, people, you know, a government wants to disarm its citizens, that's when you have to do is worry about the government. You know, I'm never going to call people to stand up and rise up against the government and shoot, you know, no. Because, I mean, I was former military myself. I think we'd have to do it as where you change it by election. And you could tell by looking at this country right now, we're in a, you know, a direction that I hate to see our country going. Do I think we need a combination of both? Yes. Do I think we need programs that help people that are less fortunate? Definitely. Do I think we need to do is try to help smaller businesses? Yes. More smaller businesses that we have that are prosperous help everyone. You know, last week I was talking about how Nancy Pelosi came out and said that, oh, you didn't make the iPhone. The government made it. I'm like going, what kind of stupid are you? Government has no, I mean, you look at everything they build. Everything they've done is research and development through private companies. They do contracts with them to build planes and do all kinds of things, and they try to win contracts. You know, so we you know, if it's like we want to do is kill the snake by cutting off its tail. That's the way our administration is. Oh, you know, we need to stop all these mass shootings, so let's take guns away from everybody because that'll stop it. No, it's not. It's not going to stop. It's like saying the drunk driver, let's take away the car. That'll stop the drunk driving. I mean, we have more people die, and it costs us more annually for drunk driving deaths than gun deaths. I've researched it. It costs our society more for alcohol related problems than it does for gun related problems. But they won't ban alcohol. They've done that once before. They saw it didn't go. They want to take away your amendment rights. They want to get rid of your Second Amendment right. They would love to be able to take that one away. They'd love to be able to take every gun. I have a friend of mine, he lives in Norway, Oslo, Norway. They do not have guns. They have, it's rare for anybody to own a gun. They had, in 2011, I was with him at the time when he found out about this. They had a youth summer camp. An attacker claimed 77 lives. The guy's name was Anders Behring Breivik. He was a 32-year-old Norwegian, and they asked him why he stopped killing people or whatever. Well, he ran out of ammo. I take it back. It says he killed 68 of them outright, injuring at least 110 people, 55 of them seriously. So the 69th victim of the hospital died 2 days after the massacre. So you look at, they had a security guard there. He had no gun. He had no ammo in his gun. They don't have guns, and he knew it. He knew they were a target where they could not defend themselves. Everybody talks about, well, what if somebody in the bar had a gun? And they go, well, they had to been a perfect shot. Well, once the chaos goes, everybody starts running. You're not going to have a lot of people standing in the way like you would in a busy nightclub. They're going to be trying to run to get out. So they're all going to be going to one end, and he would be shooting. You might be able to save a life. But to sit there and go, no guns, that the police should be the only ones with him. Well, the police stayed outside for 3 hours before they tried to go in and take him down. You wonder how many people died in those 3 hours. They were interviewing an individual live on Kelly, and she says the guy was holding the door shut so the shooter couldn't get out, and she asked him, "Well, aren't you afraid that you were holding the door so people couldn't get away?" And I think that was when he didn't realize that, yeah, he might have been holding the door shut so nobody could get out. Where are we going to go from here? It's I guarantee you they'll try to enact a law that will stop at nothing. This individual had a security clearance. He worked for a DHS contractor, and that's not Department of Human Services. He worked for Department of Homeland Security contractor. So he was able to do let's see here. Yeah, it says his former coworker. This is his. This came out of CBS Miami. It says a former coworker calls Orlando shooting suspect angry and profane. He says Omar Mateen, he was an angry, loud, profane man who used slurs for gay people, blacks, Jews, and women. It says no, I don't want that. I hate their site. Every time you click on something, it just keeps switching screens. He says Mateen, a security guard at G4S Company, which identifies itself on its website as a leading global integrated security company. He never used other words to describe them, said Daniel Gilroy, who worked with Mateen at G45. Told the Tampa Bay Times, Mateen, who regularly made threats of violence, according to Gilroy, he talked about killing people all the time, Gilroy told the New York Times, and Gilroy wasn't surprised when he learned of the massacre. He goes, I saw it coming. Said Gilroy and Mateen started badgering him and sending dozens of text messages to him daily. Gilroy said he reported Mateen's behavior to his bosses. I feel a little guilty that I didn't fight harder, Gilroy said. If I hadn't walked away and fought them, maybe 50 people would still be alive today. It said Mateen, 29, had no criminal record. Early Sunday, he opened fire. Of course, they give a synopsis of what happened. It said Mateen was son of an Afghan immigrant who had a talk show in the United States, the nature of which is not entirely clear. A former Afghan official said the program was pro-Taliban, and a former colleague said it was enthusiastically pro-American. He says he attended evening prayer service at the City Islamic Center 3 to 4 times per week. Most recently with his young son, said Imam Syed Shafiq Rahman. Although he's not very social, he also showed no signs of violence. He said he last saw Mateen on Friday. Say when he finished prayer, he would just leave. Rahman told the Associated Press he would not socialize with anybody. He was quiet. He would be very peaceful. They said, and I'm wondering if they're keeping their mouth shut for a reason. His ex-wife told reporters in Boulder, Colorado, he was mentally unstable and mentally ill. Although records show a couple did divorce for 2 years after the marriage, said she was actually only with Mateen for 4 months because he was abusive. She said later he would not let her speak to her family, and family members had to come and literally pull her out of his arms. So Mateen purchased at least 2 firearms legally within the last week or so. They actually interviewed the gun store owner. And he's got to feel bad for selling him these guns. But when you do a background check, you don't know what this guy has any intentions of doing with them. And the thing is I would feel bad if I sold a car to a guy and the guy drove and ran somebody over on purpose. You think about what they're going to try to do to enact to stop this. I'm sorry, but it's not going to we're not used to this on our soil like most places are around the world. We've been pretty untouched. But we've been so lax. We act like, it never happened here. You got the mentality of when you're 18. You're 18, you'll never be old. That'll never happen to you. I can drive my car or whatever, it won't happen to me. We always think that we will live forever. Well, it doesn't happen. The older you get, you start to realize, like, wow, I can't believe I'm this old already. Yeah, it's, what is our, or why, I wouldn't say why is our government doing what it's doing towards Islam? I heard he was one of the assistant directors for the FBI he was on, and he talked about how all of their procedure manuals on how training, they have scrubbed Islam from all of them because they don't want to do is teach anybody that anything against Islam. I'm like, wonder where that rule came from. You look at people talked about there be copycats. Well, there's a man who was arrested with weapons, explosive materials on his way to the L.A. Pride Parade. Is it just hours after that shooting in Orlando? A man whose car was filled with explosive material and weapons was arrested by police early Sunday. Thank God. He was 20 years old from Indiana. Was arrested in Santa Monica, where the police found 3 rifles and several high-capacity magazines loaded with ammunitions and chemicals that be used for improvised explosives. Said Howell was arrested after police received a call at 4:59 a.m. of a suspicious man who was knocking on doors and windows. Said Rodriguez said Howell had no connection to the area, but when they found Howell, they also found his car loaded with weapons. Our officer immediately notified that there was a rifle in the seat of the car, which led to further investigation, at which point they recovered additional firearms. Said police later said they found a 5-gallon bucket with chemicals capable of forming an improvised explosive device. That just lucky that somebody became suspicious he was knocking on doors. So they said that other parades that are scheduled, that they're taking extra precautions. And I hope they do. I hope they do take extra precautions and make everybody safe. I don't care if you're gay, straight, transgender, whatever you are, whatever your sexual, religious, anything orientation that you want to be or that you represent. I don't want to see any harm to coming to anybody. First of all, most all of us are Americans. And all of us are humans. So we have to do is, take that into the aspect. I can't. I still have the hardest time with the concept a guy can stand there and shoot 50 people or close to 50 people. Well, actually shot more than that. He shot 100 people. 50 of them just happened to die. And not have a care in the world. Not bother him a bit. It's a sickening society where we're headed. And they went back and actually talked to his classmates, because that's what they do. Anytime a shooting goes on, you're going to know more about this guy's life than anybody will ever know. They talk to everything. They talk about to his high school classmates. It says on 9/11. It says when the World Trade Center was attacked. It says some of his classmates say he celebrated. As he got on the bus, he made plane sounds, like he was flying a plane and crashing into stuff and laughing about it. He thought it was funny. So I don't think he just became self-radicalized. I think he's had this mindset from the get-go, from his parent. I think his dad brought him up that way. I don't understand how you could all of a sudden just trip like that. I think his parents brought him up to hate gays, and I think he only went to the gay clubs to, scout them out. It'll be interesting to see if they actually make some multiple arrests from this. You had this is an article that came out by the Daily Caller and Reddit. It says bans users, deletes comments that say Orlando terrorist was a Muslim. Well, he was. It's just to ignore it isn't going to do is change it. It says Reddit moderators are actively banning users posting articles discussing Orlando nightclub terrorist Omar Mateen's religion. It said user Moonsprite shared a screenshot of an article he posted titled Orlando shooting suspect may have leanings to Islamic extremism to the R News sub-re-edit related to the White House won't acknowledge Orlando attack as radical Islamic terrorism. It says you have been banned from participating. So if you don't like somebody's viewpoint, they ban you. Facebook is doing the same thing. Twitter is doing the same thing. They had, it says, here's an article about Twitter. It says game developer Mark Kern banned on Twitter saying radical mosques should be surveilled. It says Twitter has joined Facebook and Reddit in Silicon Valley's post-Orlando Hall of Shame. They've become the latest social media platform to censor users for discussing this week's Islamic terror attack. This highly prominent video game developer who worked on the original edition of Blizzard's highly acclaimed World of Warcraft, who was suspended from Twitter earlier today. Kern currently runs the League for Gamers, consumer advocacy group fighting censorship and moral panic in video games industry. Kern, who had more than 61,000 followers on Twitter prior to his suspension, was a frequent critic of the platform for its drift toward censorship over the past 2 years. Now he's been censored himself. What did Kern say that on the platform on Twitter? It says right here, it says, I don't see why Moss with radical leaning should be excluded from surveillance when the rest of us get our emails collected by NSA. What's wrong with that? If an organization is out or appears to have contact with radical groups that might, try to radicalize people or cause a terrorist attack, why shouldn't they be surveyed? If they're dealing with them, why shouldn't they? Megyn Kelly had her show on tonight. One individual was on, and she did everything to try to stop him from talking about Uma Abedin or whatever, or Abedin or whatever, however you pronounce her name, which was Hillary's right-hand so-called aide, and the Islamic extremist ties that she has with family members that are part of different here, I got an article about that too. Talks about really knowing who Uma Abedin is or whatever. They talk about how who her relatives are. Well, yeah, it has a lot to do with it. Oh, they listed the city of Orlando has released the names and ages of the 49 victims who were killed at the nightclub shooting. So if you want to see the pictures of all of them, they're on there. I find it hard to believe, still to this day, people that are that hate people that much. Let's see if I can find, I want to find the article that was talking about Hillary's right-hand aide there. I swear I think they move him right after no, that's not it. I listened to different people talk about the Second Amendment and how that guns should be outlawed and blah 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 this and blah blah that. the only reason why we don't get attacked more often is that a lot of them do have guns. And what did he do? He went and surveilled this this nightclub, because he knew that there had no weapons. I just can't believe I want to hear the story about, with the officers that from what I gather is before he got into the club, he got into a shootout with police. So why, when there's all this gunfire going on, the police are there, why did they not do something or go in to try to stop this? It was 3 hours before they went in and did anything. I'm just kind of miffed about what happened. The timeline scenario, and I'm waiting that's going to come out eventually. It's let me see if I can well, we're about that time. We're taking another break.
Vault.com. We got everything you can think of out there, Joe. The hottest hot sauces, not for wimps, mild, medium sauces. We got barbecue sauces, snacks, some of our gift ideas and gag gifts, so you can go out and check us out at www.hotsaucevault.com. Hope to talk to you again on your radio show. Kick-ass show. Had a great time last week. Hope to hear from you soon. Take care, Joe. Hotsaucevault.com.
If you're looking to reward, celebrate, recognize, or advertise, get help from the pros at Creative Marketing. Custom imprinted products to give that event a lasting impression. Log on to Creative Marketing on Facebook and click the Call Us button. With over 700,000 products, we're sure to find what is right for you. Remember, think Creative Marketing for all your adware needs.
Are you hangry? Know the signs. Uncontrollable yelling.
Why aren't you egg rolls?
Hallucination.
Sushi.
Pants discomfort.
I hate you, pants.
Hangry. It can happen to anyone. Fortunately, there's E24, the app that tells hunger to shut up.
Egg rolls. Thanks, Snoop.
E24. In my medical opinion, it's the best way to order food online, baby.
Hey everybody, Mike Allen here. You can hear me live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on TuneIn Radio. Or you can visit my website at www.ontheairwithmikeallen.com for more show times, updates, and replays. So remember, every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, on the air with Mike Allen, right here on Armed Radio Global.
And we're back. I'm reading an article here about this is a picture of the officer that got shot in the head, and luckily the helmet saved his life. You wonder, they wearing Kevlar, what does it do? But one of the gunman's bullets during the shooting hit the one officer in the head and did some damage to the helmet, but luckily all he's got is a rash on his forehead where he but no, it'll be interesting to see, the timeline here is to find out what happened. So they're talking about arrest expected soon of alleged accomplice and Orlando mass shooting. So I guarantee you there's a huge manhunt going for him. And I'm going to bring this article up, and it's like a timeline of all the different things that have happened with this case. Going up as all the way to the victims identified and everything. So I'm hoping it says the Associated Press is reporting Islamic State Radio in Beirut calls Orlando mass shooter Omar Mateen one of the soldiers of the caliphate in America. So it says apparently the killer visited the club dozens of times before the massacre. And it says a male classmate says Omar Mateen asked him out romantically. So I don't know if it was what he was fighting there to say that he wasn't gay or something like that. So it's I'm sure we'll hear more about that, because they're going to go into this is going to be in the news for weeks to come. And they said terrorism moves to the heart of the election. Well, of course. I mean, you look at all the people involved. We've gone to where we are so afraid of political correctness that we won't mention anything of Islam. When the FBI takes training manuals and they scrub Islam from the training manuals, that just tells you what our society and this administration's gone to. They don't want to do is have anything to where it looks bad against Islam. But earlier when I was talking about, and this comes off the stonezone.com, this article is, who is Uma Abaid? It says, chick gal pal, Saudi spy, mild-mannered politician's wife, foreign spy, terrorist plant, innocent aid, handler. Who is Uma Abaid besides the Stone Zone 2015 International Best Dressed listee? Uma Abaid is a vice chair of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. But Uma is much more than that. Why is it important? Because she is the person closest to the most powerful woman in American politics. Uma has been described variously as Hillary's body woman, a sort of glorified go-to personal maid and gentle confidant, and Islamic spy. She may be all these things. It says, learn the startling facts in Clinton's War on Women, the definition expose on Bill and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton and their closest associates. Well, you look at Uma, her family, and stuff like that. You look at who they associate with. And I talked about, it was in an email that was sent to me. Let me see if I can find that one. It talked about how many people in our government have ties to Islam. And no, that's not the one. We sat there and we can ignore it, and expect it to, that it's going to go away, and this isn't really going to happen, and it's all just it's all just nothing that happens. But since this administration, they let them. I've talked about this before. We're afraid of offending Islam, so what do? We allow them to teach Islam in schools. Christianity and the Bible are banned. They do it on the premise of it's cultural studies or whatever. They let them have prayer rugs for Islamic prayer in schools, airports, and businesses. Do they let them, for Christianity? No. They stop serving pork in prisons because they don't want to offend the Muslims. But isn't that offending other people for stopping it? But that doesn't make any sense. It's like saying, "Oh, somebody has a peanut allergy, so we're gonna do is stop all peanut. So no peanut butter for anybody in prison because this guy over here has a peanut allergy and we don't want to offend him." We are inundated with lawsuits by Muslims who are offended by American culture. They don't like the crosses on the church. They don't like the beer drivers that have to do is deliver beer, which is against their religion, delivering alcohol. Then why did they apply for the job and take the job? And I think it should be part of the job where it says, do you have anything that could beliefs that could affect you from performing your duties? Said, suddenly we must allow burqas to be worn everywhere, even though you have no idea what's covering it up. You don't know if it's a gal or a guy. It says, our Attorney General vows that she'll prosecute anyone who engaged in anti-Muslim speech, which found out she had to backtrack that because she couldn't do that. It's not illegal. But if that's the case, why didn't they prosecute the people that went and marched and talked about frying, cops and like bacon, fry them, Says sudden jihadists who engage in terrorism and openly admit it. They admit that they act in the name of Islam and ISIS, are declared not Islamic by their leaders, and their actions are not determined not to be terrorism, but like workplace violence. Or it's not terrorism, or it's not a terrorist act, it's what do you call it? How do they phrase it? It's not Islamic, radical Islamic jihad or terrorism. It's they use the word terrorism, but it's phrased differently so it doesn't offend Islam. It says it becomes policy that secular Middle East dictators that were benign or friendly to the West must be replaced by Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhood. That's supposedly who his families is supposed to be with the Muslim Brotherhood. It says suddenly America apologized to Muslim states and sponsors of terror worldwide for aggression and war and sabotage they perpetrate against our soldiers. Said we did a deal with Iran, made at any cost with a pathway to nuclear weapons. And then we gave them money to do it. I don't understand that. So this is one I want to talk about because this is the FBI, former FBI assistant director was talking about this, and he was talking about different people that are in our current government right now that have ties to Muslim. And I've talked about this before, but people are stunned to learn that the head of the CIA, U.S. CIA, is Muslim. John Brennan, current head of the CIA, converted to Islam while stationed in Saudi Arabia. Obama's top advisor, Valerie Jarrett, is a Muslim who was born in Iran and her parents still live there. Umar Baden is a Muslim whose mother and brother are still involved in the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. That's who he brought up, and Kelly, Megyn Kelly went, whoa, you know, that's argued about, and it's like all of a sudden then she just gave up, and she went, okay, go ahead, and to let him talk. But yeah, she was like afraid to allow him to say that. It's not her saying it. But, I mean, you look at Homeland Security Advisor is a Muslim. Obama advisor and founder of Muslim Public Affairs Council. Well, that makes sense. Obama Sharia czar. Does he have a Catholic czar or Christianity czar? Or, I mean, are these just titles that are given to only the Muslim faith? I don't know. I've never heard of that. It's an advisor counts on faith-based neighborhood partnerships. Well, that wouldn't you have that have to be a little bit of everybody on that? You know, it's funny is I hear a lot of people and they refer him as Barry, and I'm going like Barry, and I'm like, and finally, you think about it, and they talk about Barry Sortero, and that's what they say his real name is, and I'm like, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories about, and Donald Trump's hinting at right now that what's the reasoning behind our president to not call it radical Islam, and he says, he comes out and he says, because he thinks it is a recruiting tool for them. And he goes, well, what's the reason behind us being so politically correct? And I was just shocked at how quickly they had a Muslim imam there to tell everybody that everything was not because of religion. I mean, I've never seen any. I mean, all you need is facts, but they already had, some Muslim, high up Muslim in South Florida there to tell us that it had nothing to do with Islam. And then they find out it had all to do with Islam. So I'm just wondering, when they make these other arrests that they're talking about, doing, is it going to come to find out that maybe these guys were just a little terrorist cell? I wonder if this guy's he might have probably already flown back to Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't doubt it if they let him. So we We're so afraid of the being PC correct. We're so afraid of offending Muslims. And we don't want to do is come out and make people mad about it. So what do? We sit there and we ignore it and